And we are down to two. Just announced the San Diego Padres are out on Roki Sasaki, and that means it is once again a sweepstakes between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers for the most sought after Japanese player in the world right now. Hello and welcome to the Friday episode of The Walk Off. I'm Scott Belford, joined as always by the best co host in the biz, Adam Mack. And oh boy, what a morning for Blue Jays fans. And let me tell you, I am not in the mood to get hurt again. And yet, still, somehow, I've opened myself up to that possibility. So it was announced by Francis Romero. This is the tweet. He says, per source, the San Diego Padres will make their first major official signing of the 2024-2025 international class tomorrow and officially signed 6'3" Dominican left-hander Carlos Alvarez for $1 million in bonus money. This basically eliminates the Padres from being in on Sasaki. And more stuff is happening. Listen, the Blue Jays just finished making a move here. Let's see. The Blue Jays announced this is from Shai Davidi of Sportsnet. He says Blue Jays announced they've acquired international bonus pool room from Cleveland, outfielder Miles Straw, and cash for a player to be named later. The rumors are that they have acquired $2 million worth of international signing money, which puts the Jays right around $8 million on top of the six that they currently had. The rumors are Roki is after around 7, which puts them right where they have to be. They actually have more international signing money than the Dodgers right now. And I know everyone out there is saying, well, why wouldn't he go to the Dodgers? Right. And Adam, this is the tweet that I put out this morning. I said, oh, damn. Down to the organization with the most starting pitching injuries in the last couple of years versus the team with the fewest starting pitching injuries in the last couple of years. Stay safe out there, Roki. And even though I'm joking, and even though
That's
they're
mhm.
even though I'm joking, and even though there's probably a lot of luck involved in that, it has been a trend in LA that their starting pitchers are very injury prone. And I don't know if that is internal development there, the way they set up their guys, however it is, again, most likely luck when it comes to arm
Mhm.
injuries. There's other reasons why maybe he doesn't want to go to LA. There really is. Listen, it's a tragedy. It's horrible, but California is on fire on the regular right now. It is a dangerous place to be with all of the environmental and outside forces going on. Um, he'd be in two Japanese shadows there, two like mega shadows. He wouldn't get to shine on on his own, right? And who knows if he wants that? But you know who wants that? The guys who want the ball. And if you want the ball in a major game, you're setting yourself up to be like the third or fourth guy on the Dodgers. There is no doubt on the Blue Jays, Sasaki takes the ball in a big game.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. I When I first read the news of this Miles Straw trade, I was like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing here? Until the second sentence was, yeah, we acquired international signing bonus
And let's
money.
dive in a little bit here, Adam, on this trade. So this is from
Okay.
Ben Nicholson Smith. He says Cleveland is covering 3.75 million of the remaining 15.5 million owed to Miles Straw. So that means the Blue Jays are going to be on the um, hook for about 6 million over the next 2 years, so 12 million total. Also worth noting, Straw's money counts towards the Blue Jays CBT calculations, regardless of whether he's on their 40 man or not. So this could mean a few things. This could mean uh, the Blue Jays have just spent their wad on Miles Straw. a fourth outfielder, 2022 Gold Glover. Yes, he fits beautifully in center field for the first month of the season while Dalton Varsho is going to be on the IL. Obviously, a glove first, bat second outfielder is not what Blue Jays fans are after right now.
Hey,
However,
he's
go ahead.
averaging slightly under 1 home run per season.
Just slightly under.
6 home runs in 7 seasons.
Listen, I think that this is about the international signing pool money. I
Of
think
course,
that
and it's
it's
awesome, and I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too. And you know
I
what?
just love, look, this is the kind of move we were criticizing Ross Atkins for not making last week.
This is Ross Atkins' version of going all in.
And it's the creative accounting that needs to be made where we're not able to get that extra. This isn't like, doesn't mean whatever. He could still sign with the Dodgers. But this is like an actual, like a real home run swing.
Yes.
At least an effort, right? Like whatever. This would be like offering Shohei 800 million and being like, well, he took 700 million with the Dodgers. We fucking offered him eight. Like what else can we do? He didn't want
Mhm.
to come here, right? This is really trying, and it's a creative way of doing it, and it's holy is it ever frugal. Like to get a player of that caliber for that price is I hate to say it, but could really uh, rechart the course of navigation for this franchise. Like
It
this could
absolutely could.
really to have a potential superstar at a such an affordable price, right? Like this
For
would
6
be
years, dude. For 6 years. Like that's the thing, right? He's not even arbitration eligible for 3 years. It's not quite the same amount of control you would get out of drafting a guy, but it's pretty darn close. And on top of that, the money that they're saving, uh Vladdy needs an extension.
yeah.
And getting a quality starting pitcher like this, a top end of the rotation guy on a deal like they could get Sasaki, my goodness, the money they could spend, especially with the amount coming off the books in the next couple of years. I know they're going to be a luxury tax team this year. And I think they got under the luxury tax last year for a reason, so that they're not double taxed on this. And it gives them an opportunity to retool the finances in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, we're going to dive into all sorts of stuff, and there's way more to talk about here. Obviously, more information's come out about the Vladdy extension, and that the fact is, Ben Nicholson Smith reported just yesterday that the Blue Jays are, in fact, in big on him. This is from him. Blue Jays are actively negotiating an extension with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and he's the most important hitter in their lineup. So the recent New York Mets trade speculation feels like wishful thinking on the part of the Mets, and possibly an attempt to gain leverage on Pete Alonso. Another little wrinkle here is that it does look like the Mets are probably out on Alonso, and it sounds like the Jays are in big on him. Adam, I don't know if you heard what was offered, but it is speculated that the Mets offered him 3 years, 70 million with three opt-outs or two opt-outs. Then he turned it down, and their last offer was 3 years, 70 million, no opt outs. So they're basically
Yeah.
like, listen, take it, leave it, we're
Mm-hmm.
moving on. The market for Pete Alonso is not near as hot as he thought it would be. Some of you might remember that he turned down 7 years, 158 million from the Mets just a couple of years ago, and it's looking like he may need to take far less than he expected to take, and that could be a huge benefit to the Blue Jays. I mean, obviously, if Pete Alonso comes in, you're going to see Vladdy playing some third base, not exclusively. In fact, I still
Mm-hmm.
think he's the main first baseman. But you could handle Pete Alonso DHing, right?
Oh, I mean, I would take him over Santander.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, like as long as he's willing and happy to just be DH and isn't like butt hurt, like
Mm-hmm.
it feels like. But I don't know how he could. Like, he's not in a position. If he was to come to the Jays, he's not in a position to be like, hey, I'm the what's the right word for it? like there isn't going to be the tension when like A-Rod came to the Yankees and the
Hmm.
Jeter
Yeah.
A-Rod thing. Like there's not a I'm the better defensive first base. Like Vladdy's the incumbent and is I mean, you could say what you want about his gold glove, but we can all agree better defensively than Pete
Yeah.
Alonso at first base, right? So there's no reason for Alonso to come in and be like, I should be first baseman. So if he comes in and he's happy to play DH, I'd take that
Mhm.
in a heartbeat.
The Mets began considering a pivot from Pete Alonso after negotiations hit an impasse last night. This is a tweet from Will Salmon, a well respected Mets reporter. This was put out just last night. So it does look like the Mets, despite developing the polar bear and him being a megastar in New York for years, it does look like they are ready to move on. Interestingly enough, too, it has been well reported that the Toronto Blue Jays have made an offer to Alex Bregman, and there is an offer out there. Listen, this is not impossible to happen here. I'm gonna paint a scenario here. I want your honest opinion, Adam, on where you think the chances are. Let's say shit gets crazy. Let's say the Toronto Blue Jays somehow actually manage to out front office everybody, which anyone listening to this is well aware of where Adam and I stand on this. We feel strongly that this front office probably should have been canned after last year. Um, I really, really was shocked to see Ross Atkins and the coaching staff run back out here for this offseason. But if Roki Sasaki signs with the Blue Jays, do you think there is a world where dominoes start to fall, Adam? And by that, I mean, do you think maybe Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is like, wow, okay, like, let's get a deal done? Is there a world where Sasaki's domino falls, Vlad signs, Alonso signs,
And we
and
trade for
this,
Bregman somehow.
yeah, yeah, and somehow Bregman also takes the offer. I don't know. I think it's one or the other personally, but
Yeah. So in a world
would
where
you,
we've got Sasaki and Vladdy gets locked up and we get Alonso for let's say 2 or 3 years.
Mhm. So then look at the offseason. Okay. At that point, you've traded for Andre Jimenez, Platinum Glover, one of the best middle
Mhm.
infielders defensively, and only 2 years removed from MVP votes. You've brought back into the fold Jimmy Garcia. You've acquired
Mhm.
one of the best closers in baseball in Jeff Hoffman, or one of the best high leverage relievers, I guess we should put it. And then you wind up with Sasaki, a Vladdy extension, and Alonso. Pretty difficult to not say that's a success, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think prognosticators a lot smarter than I would have to grade that an A for an off season.
You would think. And listen, I'm
Added a
not saying
bat, locked
we're
up
still a
their
long ways away
guy,
from that.
added a
We're a long
starting
ways.
pitcher.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about how can we salvage an off season and not want to puke in our pants,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the idea of getting a substantial piece in every area of need, like I don't know how you call that anything but a success. And yes, like
Mm-hmm.
of course this is none of these dominoes have
None of these
fallen yet.
dominoes have fallen yet.
So, but yeah,
Listen, I'm allowing
it
myself
would
to
be
be a
big.
little toxically positive. Shit, Adam,
Yeah.
it's been way too long since I felt any sort of hope.
Yeah, 18 months, 20 months.
Yeah.
Um yeah, it's a familiar feeling, but it feels odd
Mm-hmm.
to be enthusiastic. Yeah, I don't know. It would be it would be nice.
They definitely are wild card contenders if this all happens, correct?
Wild card contenders if we add Sasaki and Alonso, or or Sasaki and Santander, even,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, wild card contenders for sure. Maybe
I think so
more.
too. I think so too. The other interesting thing with that's
Still
going
need
on with the
health to go right. Like you still need all the other
baseball's still
question
baseball.
marks is still a whatever, right? So like that's still for sure a thing. But I mean, given the hand we were dealt going into this off season, right? Like, yeah, we're not able to just get five new rock solid starting pitchers. Like that's not a thing. So like
No.
it is what it is. We got talented guys, but yeah, there's imagine of of everything else working out. So yeah, I don't know. It would be good though. It would be good. Sasaki
There's
and Alonso. I could take that.
there's a few show me deals in here too, like a few of these guys definitely have some stuff to prove, some
Oh yeah.
some fire in their belly. And listen, uh, there might be some comments saying athletes are bigger people than this. They wouldn't even think about that, but I disagree. I really do strongly believe that Jeff Hoffman would love to shove it right down Atlanta and what was the other team
Baltimore.
that Yes,
Baltimore.
Baltimore, where he failed the physicals and just shove, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
shove. Make them
Mm-hmm.
regret not
Indeed.
going with Jeff Hoffman. Bo Bichette has the biggest year of his career coming up. A year that could literally mean hundreds of millions of dollars depending on how he plays. And
Yeah.
that's not an understatement. If he repeats what happened last year, Bo Bichette went from being a possible $300 million guy to probably needing to deal in the 20 million a year type of realm, right? Maybe 5 years, 100 million, far, far, far less than he was projected only a couple of years ago. If Pete Alonso comes, think about the fire in that man's belly after getting completely screwed by the Mets. And I know that's probably the wrong way of framing it, but it's for sure how he feels, right? Developed in
Mm-hmm.
house, has been there all along. And then all of a sudden, a fancy new toy comes along, and they're like, you know what? Move along, Polar Bear. We had a good time, but you and Grimace are last year's news, right? Like, if I'm the Jays, I'm all in on Alonso. For that reason, even just alone, maybe you can get him on front load his deal, give him
Mm-hmm.
30 million for year one, give him an opt out, 2 years at 25 each, right? Three
Mm-hmm.
years, 80 million. If he turns that down, I can't see there would be another he would have already signed if there was a mega contract out there for him.
Yeah. Yeah,
He hasn't signed.
I don't think he's so in love with the like we know what the Mets deal is.
Mhm.
I don't think he's so in love with the Mets and New York that he's turning down a bigger deal, hoping that the Mets match. Like that doesn't seem
No.
to, there's no whispers of that. There's no, and if there was anything close to a whisper, you know we would have heard that, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's a front load the deal. You give him a 3 year whatever, 30 million in year one with an opt out,
Mhm.
and then encourage him to just go hard. Now, does any of this, the Sasaki talk dominoes falling, right? Any of that, do you think sway the needle on Bo Bichette's interest in staying with Toronto?
Interesting question. It definitely would be a completely different feel to that clubhouse from last year, right? Even I mean, it's already borderline going to feel very, very different. Interesting about Jeff Hoffman coming out and saying he didn't know anything about the physical either. He was as surprised as everyone else,
Yeah.
right? He's like, I feel great. I feel healthy. This is all speculative on how my shoulder might blow up. So,
Mhm.
I'm with you. I think Jeff Hoffman's going to have fire. I think Bo Bichette, who knows? It might even. I think if you were to ask Bo right now, he might say no. I mean, obviously, he's going to hold his cards close to his vest. It would need to be a confidant where he feels confident in disclosing such things. But let's say in a world where that's the case, right? And let's say
Hmm.
you're his confidant, Adam, and you ask him, hey, if this all happens as we just lined up, Toronto's not such a bad place, right? I think he still would be pretty determined to go to free agency, but maybe there is a world where the Blue Jays can circle back on a Bo Bichette. And if they're winning solves a lot of problems too, right?
Hmm.
Like this has been a pretty frustrating
Hmm.
team to be on for the last couple of years, and a lot of pressure has been on this team from the front, not the front office, from the fan base, right?
Hmm.
Because of what the front office has promised.
Yeah.
I don't know. For the first time all offseason, I'm feeling a little optimistic. I know that this could all be fleeting and could Sasaki, before we even get this released, could already have announced he's going to the Dodgers and we're just talking shit. But uh, I don't know, man. You kind of put it best, right? If you were to all these dominoes we talked about, if Sasaki kind of comes in and Alonso winds up signing, Vladdy extends, like my God, man, going into the offseason, they needed a bullpen desperately. They've done a great job in upheaving and putting together a new bullpen. And I do feel somewhat more confident than I have in the last couple of years in that Jeff Hoffman, Eric Swanson, Jimmy Garcia, and Chad
Hmm.
Green, they're all veteran, experienced, back end, high leverage relievers. Great.
Yeah, and then you just get a dozen guys from AAA to fill in the other four spots. But that's a bullpen for you, right?
You got a bullpen now, right? They went out and got Nick Sandlin out of Cleveland, the new Adam Simber. They got yes, there are still some question marks.
But that's every bullpen. Like you're not going to just
Every bullpen.
have eight established,
No.
reliable guys. Like you just roll through arms. You bring up a guy that could throw 100. He pitches for 2 weeks. Then you go find another one. That's it. So like I don't fault them for not having eight guys that you look at in the bullpen and going, oh, these guys are fucking rock solid,
Yeah.
right? You want three or four good arms that you feel good about, and the rest of it,
Yeah.
question marks is fine
You hope
because
falls into place. Exactly. So
you want as many
they've
lottery tickets as you
augmented the
can.
bullpen. If
Yeah.
Sasaki were to choose Toronto over LA, they got that big lefty, high leverage, sorry, not high leverage, high end top of the
Mhm.
rotation guy. They need a bopper. That would be Alonso. You extend Vladdy. That's another big question mark handled. Second base defense was a big, big, big question mark last year and definitely cost the Blue Jays a lot of runs. Um, yeah, that's handled too. And they also have a backup plan for if Bo Bichette walks. Honestly, if this unrolls this way, I'm pretty happy. I mean, we'll see how it all plays out. Obviously, you got to play the season, and nobody wins anything in the off season. But I sure would feel a lot better than I'm feeling right now. Grounds crew, drop your comments. Where are you at on this team? What is the likelihood of some of these dominoes falling? The truth is, I know that everyone is really down on Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro, and they think no one even wants to take their money. Guys are running out of options. LA can't sign everybody. I mean, I could eat my words here as Roki goes to LA, but that it doesn't happen. Okay.
Yeah. I can't say enough how much it would change the course of this franchise if
Yeah.
we got Roki Sasaki.
Yeah.
This is a 23-year-old that throws 102.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have him, like you said, locked up for 6 years
Mm-hmm.
at dirt cheap, essentially. It's
Yep.
essentially free money,
Yep.
right? Like, um, so just to have that would it would be so huge. Like it would
It
be
would
so
be so
huge.
huge. And it would give Vladdy a really good reason to double down and lock up, right? To be like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Um, Did you have any other Blue Jay stuff you want to talk here before we get into Mr. Baseball?
Just that Ken Rosenthal thing I texted you.
Right. Right.
So Toronto setting the price high for any teams interested in discussing a trade for Vladdy. The report from Ken Rosenthal here. To entertain a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. trade, the Blue Jays expect a package of prospects and major leaguers that exceeds the values the Padres received when they traded Juan Soto to the Yankees in 2023. So that package
And that makes all the sense in the
was
world, man. Because listen, I think it would be the stupidest thing in the world for the Blue Jays to trade Vladdy. I think it is counterintuitive, and you're never going to be able to replace him with the prospects. But to completely eliminate the possibility would be irresponsible by this front office. So putting it out there that yeah, we'll entertain huge overpays, sure,
yeah.
I don't mind that.
The package was um Soto and Trent Grisham to the Yankees for
Michael King.
Michael King, Johnny Brito, Randy Vasquez, uh, Drew Thorpe, and catcher Kyle Higoshiaka.
Yeah. So they got really good use out of Higgy and Michael King.
Yep.
Landed 3 top end prospects, and the Blue Jays have come out and said, we want more than that, or we're not moving.
Now, I mean, part of any negotiation is that you ask for
Fair
more than
guy.
that
Yeah.
and then you settle for that. And that's fine. But I think that would be even a little less than that, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
If for whatever reason you couldn't,
If
you know,
he is
if
up to,
Sasaki goes to the Dodgers and we miss out, and then Pete Alonso signs with the Orioles, and
yeah,
it's just like, oh shit, this is a dumpster fire, and Vladdy ain't coming back, and
yeah,
let's just get what we can. Like honestly, like yeah, give me basically that package, and that's a pretty good head start on a rebuild, right? Like you give me
mm-hmm.
a mid to top of the rotation starter plus 3 like young 20ish year old pitching prospects and a couple competent pieces. It's just such a better start than whatever your qualifying offer compensation would have been next season. So yeah,
Couldn't agree more.
next couple days though going to be interesting because like you
The
said,
next couple of days,
dominoes will fall
yeah,
one way or the other with Sasaki, and I do think that is a we're at a fork in the road, man. We're at a
yep,
fork in the road.
yep.
We've both been off of the Atkins Shapiro bandwagon for a long time, but credit where credit's due.
If they can pull
This
this off, yeah,
what's the outfielder we traded for? What's his name? Miles Straw.
the straw
That
that
was
stirs the
a
drink, yes.
that was a very significant move.
Yes.
Like if it's down to the Jays and the Dodgers, and we're in a bidding war that is restricted by that international signing pool, and the Dodgers are capped out at
6.
Dodgers and Giants are at 5.146 for their pool. Blue Jays were in the $6.2 million pool, and then you're
He's
going
at
to add to
8.3.
a chunk of change from the Guardians here. If that's what it takes to get it over the top, fuck yeah, let's go for it, man. Like
Yeah,
kudos
I
to
agree.
Ross Atkins and Shapiro for I don't know if it's having the balls or having the idea to do it, but this is the first like move in a long time where I felt like, oh shit, nicely done. You know,
Yeah,
whether it works out or not is another thing, but that's tip of the cap. That's good.
yeah. There you go. The old John Schneider. All right, buddy. Let's end on like it is sad. Some sad news. Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker, voice of the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, everyone loved him in Major League. He was a quote machine.
Hmm.
passed away just before his 91st birthday. Um, some great lines from Major League that I just love. And the one that sticks with me as a Toronto Blue Jay fan, I know I texted this to you, Adam,
Hmm.
but it's just like when he's in the booth and he's reading the offense, he's like, the offense today provided on 2 hits. That's all we got? 2 goddamn hits? And then his color man's like, you can't say goddamn on the air. And he's like, nobody's listening anyway. So just like such a funny
Iconic,
line.
indeed.
Just a bit outside. Another classic. I don't know if you heard, and I'm not going to tell the story because I will not do it justice, but it is such a great story. And it's from one of my favorite comics on the planet, Norm MacDonald. Norm, of course, a degenerate gambler, big fan of Bob Euchre. Him and Euchre became really good friends by the end of both of their lives. And Norm tells a story about being in the booth. He was down in Arizona for spring training, and so he actually got to go up into the booth and hang out with Bob. And John Fogerty is in the crowd.
Hmm.
Anyways, look it up. Look it up
Okay,
because it is
will do.
absolutely hilarious. It is so funny the way Bob Euchre is just above stardom, and that's one thing Norm really got across really well is he's just like, we're all the same to Bob. Right. So
Hmm.
he's just like, yeah, there's John Fogerty. Right. And he's just the way Norm tells it is fantastic. So definitely check out John Fogerty, Bob Euchre, Norm Macdonald's story.
Love
There's
it.
a million of them out there. I've been watching clips of Euchre on
Hmm.
Letterman and shit, even what was Johnny Carson, right?
Hmm.
Really way back in the day. I mean, the
Wow.
guy, the guy's been an old man since I was a little kid watching him.
That is a impressive feat. An
It
impressive
is an
feat.
impressive feat. All right, so R.I.P. Bob Euchre. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Always appreciate it. If you have not subscribed to the channel, we would really appreciate it. Couple guests to keep you informed about. Jolly Olive Jack from John Boy Media is going to be joining us next Wednesday. He's pumped to come on the podcast. He's like, oh man, it is crazy how many lines are crossing between the Blue Jays
Hmm.
and
Indeed.
the
Mets.
Mets right now. He's like, we'll talk Soto, we'll talk Alonso. He's like, who knows? Alonso might even be a Blue Jay by the time we talk. I'm like, that's the dream, buddy.
Awesome.
Yeah, so next Wednesday, and then we also have Josh Kasevich, who is a top 10 prospect in the Blue Jays system, shortstop. Should be starting in Buffalo for this season. Of course, he will be in spring training as big league spring training. So you'll be seeing more Josh Kasevich if you're watching spring training games. That is hopefully Friday next week. Of course, if you're a Patreon member, as soon as we do it, it is out and available to you and to you folks in the public. We should get it out a day or two after that. Of course, when we're interviewing these prospects before spring training, some of this stuff is sort of evergreen. Also,
Hmm.
by the way, we about a month ago sat down with Nene Takes. Okay, this is Matt. He is a prospect wizard. Loves the numbers, follows the minor league systems more than most guys that I know. We had him on the show about a month ago. Again, we haven't released this yet to the public, but I'm going to do my best to get this out maybe over the weekend here. Kind of keep an eye out. He goes over the Blue Jays' top 10 prospects and what he thinks they've got going on there. So keep an eye
There you
out for
go.
that. Thanks again, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Cheers.